All right, the Mets just traded Brandon Nimmo to Texas Rangers for Marcus Semien. Let's talk about it. So let's talk about what this means for the Texas Rangers. First off, they're getting Brandon Nimmo. They're getting a really good bat. They're getting a really good player. Nimmo hit 262 last year with 92 RBIs and 25 home runs. So they're getting good power. They're getting uh, good average, and helps top of their lineup. Gives them another bat behind Corey Seager. It's all in all, it's a good trade for the Texas Rangers. Nimmo's still under contract till 2030, another 4 more years. He is pretty older. He's currently 32 years old, so he'll be 36 by the end of the contract. Um, so there's been a bit of a decrease though in Brandon Nimmo over the past couple of years, but still he could hold up with the bat. He could provide offense. He's still a decently good left fielder, but a relatively older player, so you know that eventually that will start to decline. Um, but for his career, Brandon has always been an average hitter, plus average hitter, if that. The powers come later on. I think eventually it will translate in that ballpark as well. You see his average increase. And all in all, he reunites with his old teammate Jacob DeGrom. Nimmo approved the trade. It's a big change for him. He spent his whole career with the Mets. Um, and yeah, I think overall it's a decently good trade for the Rangers, as it appears like they are taking on more money, but Nimmo's contract does steadily decrease over time. So all in all, in the long run, they will kind of uh, get more value for their buck as the years go on with Brandon Nimmo. So all in all, it's a good trade for Texas. They should be happy with it. Now for the Mets, Marcus Semien. I'm listen. This is I'm trying to be objective here, and I'm gonna say this right. There's a lot on the surface. If you look at Marcus Semien, right? He's 36. He'll be 36 when they start the season. Um, or he's 35 now. He'll be 36 during the year. He's got 3 more years left on his contract. Mets are saving some money with this deal, about $30 million that they were able to shed. Um, Semien did not have a great offensive year last year. He had 230 with 15 home runs, 62 RBIs. Um, it's not great. It's not on the surface. It doesn't look like it would be a great trade for the Mets, but what the Mets are trying to do here, is save money. They're trying to shake up their core, and they're looking to improve their run prevention, as David Stearns has said, the president of the New York Mets. He wants to improve run prevention. Brennan Nimmo defensively in the outfield did not do that. He did not have a great defensive year in the outfield. And on the infield, the Mets kind of had a revolving door at second base with Jeff McNeil, Luis Angel Acuna, at times Brett Beatty. That didn't all work out and go great. So they needed some stability at second base, and they needed some plus defense at second base to pair with Lindor. Marcus Semien gives them that. He's a plus defender, 2-time Gold Glove winner. Um, he's always been above average on WAR. So he's a very useful tool at second base that helps their up the middle defense, which has been an issue for the past couple of years. So the Mets are getting a premier glove, not necessarily a bat. Now Marcus Semien also had a really good offensive year 2 years ago. He's a two-time Silver Slugger winner. He has hit in the past. Is it a matter of age? Is it a matter of lack of consistency? Is it a matter of injuries? Who knows? The Mets are going to try to bank on a bounce back year from a 36-year-old. They've done this in the past. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. It's hard to defend an aging player's bat. when he's 36, and you're expecting him to kind of bounce back from his disappointing offensive year. But the Mets aren't looking for Semien to provide, average and power. They're looking for him to provide defense. They're looking for him to provide leadership. For all Marcus Semien is, a lot of the noise going around is that he was the unofficial captain of the Rangers. That even in his time in Oakland, he's been a mentor. He's been a leader. He's a big clubhouse presence. And the Mets right now need some stability in that regard as well. Their locker room hasn't been the best in recent years, per reports, and they're looking for a leader on this team, somebody who could be more vocal, somebody who could be more of a mentor figure. And if Marcus Semien can be that, it's a boon for the Mets. They're able to get that from him. The Mets are getting a lot younger. They have a plethora of young players, and Marcus Semien could be a big part of that going forward. So, all in all, it appears like both teams seem relatively happy with the deal. And I think for all intents and purposes, it's too early to define a winner. It's not necessarily a matter, this is a complicated trade. It's not a matter of you take one guy and one guy and you mash your stats together and you see clearly that one is better than the other. There's a lot of intangibles that go into it. There's a lot of things to break down when it comes to this trade. So I think all in all, both teams are relatively happy. The Mets save money. They get a plus defender, and they're able to kind of shake up their core a little bit and allow them to kind of change their offense. And the Rangers get a really good hitter, a good defender, and somebody who's going to be a really, really good player. So all in all, it seems like a good trade for both teams. But what does this mean going forward for both teams as well? I think for Texas, in the Rangers, they're kind of looking for more bats. They're kind of looking for pitching. I think this kind of gives a boost to their offense, sure. But they cut Adolis Garcia, so they were looking for a replacement in there. They got Brandon Nimmo, who's more consistent. They're probably looking for another at bat to pair behind Corey Seager and on top of their order as well. Obviously looking for more pitching, trying to get better in that regard. Their bullpen was a mess last year as well. So I think Texas is going to probably move towards pitching. That's going to be their goal. The Mets are kind of different. The Mets are kind of looking for a lot more. But I think the Mets have an interesting path to take here. We're gonna kind of deep dive them a little bit here. I am a Met fan, so this is gonna be kind of a breakdown of what I envision happening in the future for them. Going forward in the offseason. I think the Mets are gonna have a very active offseason. I think they're going to be very, very big in the trade market and in free agency as well. I think clearly they had a disappointing year last year, to say the least, and they're looking to improve this roster exponentially. And while the Marcus Semien trade doesn't seem like it's a big deal in that regard, there is a big kind of momentum push that you're seeing now on what their path is. David Stern so far has been a man of his word. What he says, he's usually done. So when he comes out and says, "I'm looking for run prevention and I'm looking to improve our team defense," this move is a lateral to that. So I think the Mets are going to try now to improve their power, and they're going to try to replace Brandon Nimmo's at bat and try to give some more offense to this team last year. I really lacked it. I think pitching wise is going to be pitching wise. They're going to figure that out. But I think in terms of big moves and major moves, there's a couple of names here that kind of stand out to me, right? Obviously, look at the outfield now for the Mets. It very much is not great. Obviously, if Juan Soto in right field, that's not going to move. He's going to be there. You're not touching him. They were able to avoid arbitration with Tyrone Taylor. So he's going to be right now. He's slotted as a center fielder. And in left field right now, they have a young player called Carson Bench, who was very high regarded among the Mets and among Met fans and Met players. He's a very, very interesting young player. He's 20 years old. He got drafted by the Mets 2 years ago. He's been growing exponentially. And it seems like he's major league ready right now. So we'll see if he gets that opportunity this year. He may be the full-time center fielder. But I think the Mets have an interesting path where they have a spot in the outfield they could fill. And there's a couple of guys, especially in free agency, who the Mets can target, and now having that extra money to work with can now maybe explore. So one guy in particular, obviously, is a big name for agency, is Kyle Tucker. Kyle Tucker is 29 years old. Um, he was with the Cubs last year. He's a free agent this year. He's going to demand a lot of money on the market. He's a big left-handed bat. He had 266 last year. He had 73 RBIs, 22 home runs. He's a career big bat. He won World Series with the Astros in the past. He's a good defender. You throw him in left field, he'll be fine in left field over there. Um, all in all, he would be such a really big player for the Mets that you could sandwich him between Soto and one of your right-hand hitters, maybe a Vientos, and really protect them as well. Could be a big cleanup guy. He could hit for average, could hit for power, and even last year with the Cubs, he was a very big part of that offense. Um, so Kyle Tucker would be kind of the premier player. He's going to demand a lot of money as he should. Um, I think a player who's still relatively in his prime and relatively not on the decline yet, I think will command a lot of money and will be a high commodity for a lot of teams. However, if the Mets don't decide to go down that route, and they don't decide to, want to dish out that amount of money for Kyle Tucker, a cheaper, more safer, if you would, or interesting option would be a Cody Bellinger, right? With the Yankees last year, he's going to be 31. He hit he had 272, 98 RBIs, 29 home runs. He had a great year with the Yankees last year. He could play center field. He could play left field. It would be a really, really interesting option to see what they go down with Cody Bellinger, what he's going to command in the market. I think it'll be relatively interesting to see what he brings back. Um, Obviously, there's a lot of swing and miss in his swing. There's a lot of things that get exposed, but he is a big power bat. He's a presence. He's a presence in the lineup. He can protect players, and you would think in this Met lineup he would thrive. He's another left-handed bat, which also really helped his team. He replaced Brandon Nimmo's bat as well, so that would be an interesting move for the Mets to make as well. We'll see how much he commands on the market, how much he's going for. But Cody Bellinger would be an interesting option for the Mets to explore as well with the money they have. But and then after that, the outfield free agent market isn't that great. There's a significant drop off in terms of player quality. Um, so the Mets, if they don't land Bellinger or Kyle Tucker, maybe could explore the trade market. And there are two names here that really stick out to me among trade market players. The first of which is Luis Roberts from Chicago White Sox. Luis Roberts, on the surface, isn't all that in terms of the numbers. 223 last year, 14 home runs, 53 RBIs. It's not a great look from last year, but he is a plus defender. He won a Gold Glove. He's a one-time All-Star. He'll be a free agent next year. You don't necessarily have to give up a lot to get him. I think you could, and I think, when you're playing on the White Sox, it's tough to really get motivated. It's tough to kind of, you know, really show what you're capable of. And I think with a breath of fresh air on a new team, on a team that's expected to win, with the quality of players the Mets have, I think Luis Robinson kind of blossom a little bit more. I think you'll see his plus glove play out more. I think he's would very much be helpful in that run prevention. It's a guy that I think David Stearns would approach and would like and would really be interested in bringing in. Um, I think offensively too. I think we will see a jump if he comes to the Mets. I think eventually we'll get better. There's a lot of potential in Luis Roberts Jr. I think there's a lot of things that can go right. And while there is some risk involved, obviously the bat, you want to see that kind of be more consistent and be better. But I think that defense is also very valuable and very important to this team as well. So I think Luis Roberts could be a interesting target for the Mets if they don't go down the free agency route. If they want to make a trade, they have the prospects for it. So we'll see what happens in that regards with Luis Roberts. And the Mets, it's been a name they've been considering for a long time as well. So we'll see if it actually pans out this year. But then the last name on this list is that's really interesting, and that I think could be seismic. I think is a good word to kind of describe it if it does happen. Let's have some fun. Why not? Fernando's Tatis Jr. is a name that I think is going to be thrown around this offseason. Um, Obviously, Tatis is a star. He's a massive player. Um, I think San Diego right now is having a massive problem with their money situation and their ownership, and I think they're going to be looking to sell a lot of their players. And Tatis could be a guy that is targeted. I think the Mets have the prospect to bring in a Tatis and really interest the Padres in that regard. Tatis hit 266, 268 last year, 25 home runs, 71 RBIs. He would be such a massive player on the Mets, and if they were able to make this trade go through, he could play the outfield. You could put him in left field as well. I think he'll be fine, or even in center if you want to. He's a good defender out there. He's won a Platinum Glove. He's won a Gold Glove. I think he's able to kind of take. He could be a plus defender, especially in City Field. Um, I wouldn't mind it. I think it would be a whole lot of excitement, and it would bring a big energy to the crowd and into City Field. You're able to bring Tatis behind Soto and Lindor. You have a massive big three right there. Obviously, the risk are his injuries. He's been injury prone. He's been caught for steroids before. And obviously, people are going to go to his, eccentric behavior and his, his maverick attitude, which I think would be perfect for New York. I think it would actually be better in New York. I think it would be helpful. I think he'll be fine with the media. I don't see it being a problem. I don't see it being an issue. Obviously, it's a give and take with Met fans. I think he'll kind of embrace it. Um, so I wouldn't mind. I think his personality would fit in New York. I don't think it would be that big of an issue. Obviously, his contract is huge. He signed a 14-year deal. Um, so he's going to be signed through 2034. It's another 9 years. But I think when you're in win now mode and you have a window with Juan Soto, I think bringing in a guy on a long-term deal could have that kind of potential. Kind of, this is what we're trying to do. So I wouldn't mind it. I think it would be such a big, big boon for the Mets. You stick him right underneath Soto, and you have an amazing player there. I think the Mets have the prospects to do it. I think they have the money to do it. I think everything would make sense to do it. San Diego needs to kind of sell some money and bring in some younger talent and try to go for a rebuild. I think it would work. I would love Tatis here. I think all four options I wouldn't hate for the Mets. I think it all makes sense. I think the big piece and the big thing that kind of ties this all offseason together offensively for the Mets is bringing back Pete Alonso. Pete's going to demand a lot of money. He's earned that right to do that. The Mets have freed up some money. They have the most expensive owner in baseball who's looking for a win now mode. Um, I think bringing back Pete is of the utmost most importance for the Mets. I think bringing back Pete to sit behind Soto and soak up that energy, and then bringing in another at bat, whether that's a Kyle Tucker or Cody Bellinger or Luis Roberts or Fernando Tatis Jr. You have that kind of front four of Lindor, Soto, Alonso, and whoever else would be just a prolific offense and would really tie this team together really well. I know the Mets want to get younger. I know they want to kind of have a better defensive scheme. I know they want to kind of have a more run prevention type of defense to help their pitching. But I think offensively, the Mets need Pete Alonso back. I think they need another bat in that lineup to kind of tie it all together. Soto and Lindor can't do everything, and you kind of need to strengthen your lineup that way. Marcus Semien is a good little move, but you need to bring a big splash in here and bring in some power and bring in some excitement. I think the four players I labeled could do that and will do that while also bringing back Pete Alonso. That would tie this offseason together perfectly for the Mets. It would really set themselves up for success in 2026. Obviously, it's all expectation based. They got to meet it. But I think doing all that would bring that expectation level to where it should be at. So, with all that being said, that kind of broke down the Brandon Nimmo Marcus Semien trade and kind of a preview of what I think the Mets offseason is going to be. We'll do more videos like these for the Mets and Yankees because we're local based. any more big moves that happen in the offseason, we'll talk about. Thank you guys for listening. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. And we'll see you guys next time. Peace.